Happy Friday, kids, and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Birds of a Feather, the Coed
Yeah, this
edition.
this is our
With,
first one for the year, right? Is it?
yes, that is speaking
Oh,
right now. You know him, you love him. Welcome back, Eddie B. What's up?
what's going on? I'm just
Happy
happy
New
it's
Year.
Friday. I
Yes,
don't work anymore this week. I'm happy.
right. I know. For some moment of insanity, because it was such a rough week for me work wise too, like emotionally, I just was not in the mood for anything.
I hear
I
you.
actually contemplated doing OT tomorrow, and then I said, "Bitch, what?
I'm glad
Why?"
no one had reached out to me for that because I'd have been like, nope.
No, no. I think this is a weekend to chill, and that's okay. So, how you been, Eddie? How'd you welcome in the new year?
Nothing. I you know
That's okay.
I
I didn't do shit
literally
either. I stayed home.
I literally sat at home and watched both bowl games pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, I went
Yeah.
out earlier in the day. Early part of that day, I was out. I went out, met up with my buddy Doug. But other than that, I just relaxed, and
I don't
which
look
was
down in
great.
it. I
I
don't look
bought
down
an
in
I
it.
bought a New Year. I was if it wasn't for those was it the Georgia and Ohio State game. If it wasn't
Yeah.
for that being such a good game, I would have slept through the damn ball drop.
Yeah. Yeah. Because didn't they say they literally kicked as the ball dropped because the game went into literally into midnight or something? Someone
Yeah, it went
said.
right into midnight. Yeah, just
Right.
after
Right.
midnight, he kicked. Yeah,
Yeah. So that was probably the most memorable bowl for that reason alone.
and I was a
Second of
little
reason
happy. I
alone.
was a little happy that Ohio State lost, but
I think everybody was. My cousins are from Georgia. They pride
well.
themselves on Georgia Bulldog positivity. So, and we got our the Georgia Bulldogs on the Eagles. So, we're a Georgia house now. But no, it was a good game from the little that I remember watching. I just
Oh,
remember
it's
thinking,
great. It's a great game. Yeah.
I was like, I hope they recruit more of them dudes to us, because we could use a lot more Georgia, more Georgia kids on our team, even
Telling you
next
that
year.
SEC pool, you keep dipping in it.
Yeah, they need to. I think it should be an investment, because I don't think anyone has any problems aside from injury, and we have yet to see what Nakobe Dean can really do. So,
I mean,
you know,
Devonta's. I mean,
yeah,
he's
Devonta
from
as well. I keep
SEC.
forgetting.
Yeah,
Hello. Yeah, so it's a
yeah.
big deal. So overall, we know that the last 2 weeks, Eagle Wise sucked. Gardner Minshew had his opportunity to take over, and he blew it. Um, I'm more mad about losing the last game than Dallas, because Dallas at least came down to the wire. Whereas the Saints
Mm-hmm.
game was totally winnable, and they all played like they were like most of the coaches just decided to say wing it, and that was very annoying because they looked like they couldn't play football at all without Jalen.
I wouldn't say wing it. I mean, it's hard. It's very hard to overcome bad quarterback play. That's the most important uh play on the team spot on the team. It's hard. It's very hard, like to overcome that. Like I just thought it was crazy that he played. I was like, why did he play so bad? He didn't play that bad against Dallas.
That's
Like,
why I was confused. I said the same
like
thing.
what
I
was
said,
different? I was
"Why?
like, is this a different? Why are we seeing a different Gardner right now?
Why? Right? What's
Uh,
so different? You look just as capable the week before. So what changed?"
because if he plays the same, if he played like he did in that game, we win. Like,
Honestly, even if they'd gotten together in the fourth, they won. You know what I mean? Like, they had many
yeah,
opportunities to capitalize, because the Saints really weren't that good. They were just plotting. They were just capitalizing off
and
of everything the
thank
Eagles
God
gave
for
them.
the defense. The defense kept us in the game the whole game
Yeah,
because their score should have been higher on the Saints end, but the defense held them to field goal, stopped them, kept sacking them and taking them out of the field goal range and doing like they did what they had to do.
they did.
But
Obviously.
it's just sad that you mean tell me you couldn't put together two or three drives.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. They just looked very incompetent, and I'm like, I don't care. You had all the time in the world between you lost both games on both holidays, when y'all could have just came back and like, oh, my bad. Let's
Yeah.
get this one out the way so we can at least chill for a week. Now
Well,
they got to
well,
play the Giants.
now that shuts up all the naysayers of it stuff that Jalen's is just a system
Yeah,
quarterback.
I said the same
You
thing. I mean,
know?
people who want to say it are just going to stay that way, but I do believe it
Yeah,
just proves why he's an MVP alone. But you
yeah.
know what? After the way the things even went with how Embiid's MVP was kind of overlooked a year ago, I have a feeling I agree with Joy Taylor. I don't think NFL is going to give him the MVP, no matter how
No,
screamingly obvious.
no,
But he should be the MVP, but it'll probably go to Mahomes. But whatever. Um,
because they
this
don't like us.
they don't like us, and we say we don't care, but we do.
We, yeah, we care.
We care very much so. That's why
Just enough.
we're the best fan base in the NFL because we're so passionate.
Yeah.
All right, so looking back, that was a disappointment. I think what made it even more nerve wracking to watch was that the O line was crumbling, and it was contributing to Garnett Minshew's happy feet and bad placement of the ball. And I don't know what he was thinking because I thought that was going to be Dallas Goddard's return to glory, and Dallas couldn't have gotten overthrown more or underthrown than
I
this past
mean,
game.
he only completed what 6 passes to the tight
Right,
ends in the past 2 games.
right.
I mean,
Meanwhile, when they played the Jets, him and Dallas were like brothers. So I still don't understand
well, you
why
saw
the
he
scheme was
wasn't taking.
different.
I don't know why he wasn't taking the check down. Like,
Right. He was trying so hard to do these big long passes, and I'm like,
no,
you are not
just
Jalen. Just relax.
even Jalen takes the dip and dunk too.
He
Though I
does. He
mean,
does not as much as he takes the big one, but you're right. He did
yeah, but
take
he
that
like
out.
he'll because you take what the defense gives you,
Defense gives you right.
you
You're right.
know, and
It
that's
just
what
felt
he
like he
does.
was panicking, and he was trying to look like he wasn't panicking, but he
And then
was.
that opens up the big pass, you know. Like,
Yeah. But didn't he look like he was getting like real freaked out, but then trying to seem like he was in control? And I just felt like every time he went
yeah,
to the sidelines, he was just looking real sheepish.
hmm
And I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm hoping by the halftime they can figure it out. And they just looked just as clueless. I mean, defense was
yeah,
showing up obviously, but that's not gonna help you with points. Like for to only get 10 points out of that whole game, that's ridiculous. That's
and what
inexcusable.
barely did they get any points in the first? No,
No, they didn't. No,
or did they?
that's
Or
why it
was
was
it?
embarrassing.
Yeah, because they didn't get that field goal
I
the
don't think they
first
got the
today.
field goal in the first game. See, that's why I didn't even watch the replay.
Yeah,
That's how disgusted I was. I didn't even watch the replay.
and then that one drive when that was clearly a touchdown, and it
Yeah,
was not a
it
holding
was
call.
not a hold. It was a pancake. It was a perfect way of put whatever. Yeah, I felt
Yeah,
bad for
he tripped up over
Dickerson.
somebody. He tripped over somebody's feet.
It just got to the point where you could tell they were taking advantage of Driscoll and Dickerson being, kind of new to it, and then they were having the snap issues again with Kelsey. Everything was falling apart chemistry wise,
Yeah,
and I thought they would be able to get it together by the second half, and it just seemed like it was kind of the same shit, different
yeah.
quarter. But whatever. They learned how embarrassing that was. I think they've owned
Oh,
every
that's just got to sting. I know it stings.
Well,
I
all
know
those
it
3
does.
losses that they've had were totally gettable wins. That's the thing.
Hmm
Like, this team has pretty much had the formula all of season, so we're kinda spoiled because we're not used to seeing them lose, but we're also not used to them losing in a perfectly, incompetent way. It'd be
hmm
different if they were just like that Dallas game to me could have been a loss or win no matter how much you look at it. It was a good game, but it
Yeah,
was that Dak got it together at the right time, put it that way. Because it was 40-34, so it wasn't like they were incapable of even
yeah.
forcing that bitch to overtime if they had to. But the other 2 win to losses were just like stupid mistakes and just total
hmm
total loss of concentration and focus.
Yeah, just a
And
complete breakdown. Yeah,
complete breakdown, and when they get there, it's almost like they couldn't figure out how to back it up, and I that definitely is something that you're not used to seeing, and you could tell the more they showed Jalen looking chill on the sidelines, I think he was starting to
his face. Oh God,
he was starting to get annoyed because he was like, "I know y'all ain't playing like this, like, for real."
that annoying face. He just
That
was like,
annoyed face, like, trying not to chew his gum too hard, but you could tell he was like, "This some bullshit. What am I looking at right now? Like, you gonna take me with this bum shoulder and drop and bring me in when I don't have to be? Like, I'm supposed to be chilling." You know? Shout out to Jalen too because he kind of rocked a throwback Fresh Prince look going
oh
into the
yeah,
game that day. I like that though
man.
because I think that was the most relaxed I've seen Jalen when he doesn't have any pressure on him. He's kind of just like, all right, I can have a little fun with my wardrobe, and
Well,
he
yeah. Also, it was
sported the
like
Bel Air
60 degrees.
line.
It was also
Yeah,
60 degrees that day too. So I mean,
yeah, we're in
it
a
was just
weird
like,
unseasonably warm 60-degree on in early January, late December. It's like what the hell.
yeah,
Anyway, but yeah, so moving on past that, we can honestly say this game is a must win just to round out the rest of the season. Obviously they're playoff bound, but okay, so we have realistic worries though, because even if
yeah.
you have Lane trying to fight through this and play in the playoffs, is it worth it? Because he literally has a groin tear. And then you got CJ GJ starting to practice again, but I feel like he's better. There's a hopeful outlook for him as opposed to him being out, longer than Lane has. Lane is a more recent injury and it's a more severe injury because it's internal and because it affects how he moves on the line.
Yeah.
So, do we feel like now we also see uh Crevon Blanc LeBlanc putting his case out there that he can come back and play Avante's because Avante's toe is pretty much destroyed, so he's not coming back.
I stay in the
So
field at fucking
yeah, I still blame Dallas from that last pod. Yeah, fuck you, Dallas.
that,
Not Dallas Goddard,
that
although that would be
shitty ass that
nice.
shitty ass field.
Sorry, never mind. Totally missed that. Went over my head. Anyway, no,
Oh
but my
no.
point is just in general, Avante being out, I've never
Yeah.
heard somebody promote themselves so bad to come back to Philly like Crevon LeBlanc.
I
But
mean,
I did like Straps, so I don't think it's that hard to put him right back in. But maybe they're not interested, but I think they should be. He's more
yeah.
familiar than any one of the defense that they have.
Yeah, he's solid. Yeah. I mean,
So, anyway, I just don't know what that if he has to do that, I'm not sure if that means that no one is
yeah. If
taking obviously a call
yeah.
or if they're really
I mean, if I
already
gotta
have their own ideal.
gotta keep watching Josiah Scott run around and make a fool of himself.
This is why
You
I say, like, to
know.
me, I mean, if you don't have players who don't already know how he is, I mean, Rodney's not here, obviously. Rodney's in Indianapolis.
mm,
There and like you say, bring back Malcolm Jenkins, but I'm like, realistically, that's not gonna happen. But
nah.
guys who are familiar that you do not have to stress about play calling, to
Yeah.
me, would be the best answer for this crunch time before
hmm
the playoffs. So, what say you about bringing back a Crevon LeBlanc
I'm all right with
or
that. I mean, he wasn't. He was serviceable when he was here. It wasn't like he was a bad player. He was a good player.
I honestly
You
think the
know.
only reason why he left was probably because of just no extra salary room.
Yeah, and
I
they
don't think he
had
was horrible enough they couldn't have kept him.
he ended up being the odd man. He ended up being the odd man out.
Odd man
You know.
out, right? Yeah, I thought they were actually going to keep him one more year, but I guess I was wrong. But I feel like every team he's bounced to too has had the same thing. Like they've
Well,
just
it's not
let him
when,
go.
especially when they made upgrades. It was like, oh,
Right,
well, we don't really need him now.
right,
You
right.
know. So that became the whole, the whole thing.
I mean, anything can happen because look at Deshaun still on the Ravens. I mean, like Deshaun he doesn't even need to be on the Raiders because literally they put him in for 2 plays and that's it. But um,
mm.
with obviously Lamar at this point, knee or not, I just think the Negro decided no, I'm not playing for this team. I may not be here next year, so I don't blame him.
I
Whether
mean,
his knee is messed up or not, if
can you
Lamar really
can you
wanted to, he would.
can you blame him for taking that stance
No, hell
of
no. That's why I say,
how they've been
yeah.
treating them? It's like,
I mean, it's 5 weeks now. At this point, if he's not telling y'all, fuck y'all didn't want to give me. I'm not going to sit here and rush back after y'all didn't rush to give me a contract, and I'm trying to represent myself. Like they say, the price
yeah.
just goes up after this year, and he's not going to want to be franchised. If I were him, I'd start looking at other teams.
So he doesn't have to sign the tag anyway. If they try to tag him, he can.
Yeah,
He doesn't
he's
have
still
to.
getting money no matter what. But I just feel like at this point, it's it should have been a no brainer to them. And this team has had
Well,
nothing but
yeah,
disaster all year. So I think it's just I thought their record was worse than it was. It actually isn't that bad of a record, but they still are at you know, they're in
yeah.
that last seed where they could fuck it up now.
Uh,
But Tyler Huntley, I think, is a decent backup.
yeah,
I
he
just think he
is.
needs to be smarter with the ball, as obviously because that last game ended in a pick. But I feel like he plays kind of hungry like Lamar did. So, and they know each other because apparently they grew up playing pee wee football together. So
Mm.
it's almost like his clone. So in a way, he's probably thinking, "Well, you got a little version of me. If that's what the guy you want for the little money, then maybe I should bounce."
Yeah,
But going back to the fact that Deshaun is back on that team, I'm saying with Cravan, I think it would be something that they should look at. And we don't know if they have, because Lord knows they've been keeping probably everything under
oh yeah,
the
they
cap right now because they don't want to
yeah
put
how he
any.
does how he doesn't how he likes to keep things
He's a
quiet
magician, I know.
sometimes. Yeah, so
He's a musician and he's a glorified car salesman. So I wouldn't be shocked, but I really do think that although Josiah Scott kind of redeemed himself because he got a pick in that
yeah,
last game, even though it didn't mount to anything, but he did get a pick.
yeah,
So I think his confidence got a little better because obviously that was a stressful game.
mm,
And obviously with Slay being frustrated about it, I think that maybe that was kind of a little bit redemption for Josiah because he got a pick. He was in the right place at the right
yeah,
time. But yeah, we still have issues in terms of like it's leaking a little bit. Now, granted, I'm kind of glad that these injuries are not as bad as they could have been because they've been decimated before to the point where it's like this team, I don't know who's left standing,
yeah.
like
I
like
mean,
maybe five healthy guys the rest of the
it's
season.
crazy. It's crazy how we
We were the most injured team.
we dodged. This year we dodged the bullet a lot.
Yeah. And
I
they're not going
mean,
to play Josh Sweat, of course, because that just makes sense because of what happened
mm,
last time.
oh yeah, he's gonna sit.
He's gonna sit, but I think that,
Now the doctors clear him for the playoffs, he'll play. You know that.
and that's the thing. If even if they get to the point where they go, well, I'm just gonna put it out there. When they get to the next round, he'll definitely play then.
Yeah.
But at this point, like I said, it's almost like with CJGJ. Like I feel like with him, you don't even need to rush him. He doesn't even need to really even do anything for this game. I
I
think
mean,
it's kind of
I would love to have him back because
yeah.
that group of corners, you put them back in there, and it's pretty good. So
I mean, honestly, we can't. We, I'm sure he's been going crazy being home for 5 weeks or however long he's been
yeah,
out.
oh yeah.
Since the Cowboys game. So I'm sure he's probably secretly killing himself that he's watching what the guys do what they're doing without Avante.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be shocked if he decided. Now, mind you, Giants aren't using their starters, so Eagles may not have to press, but that still doesn't mean shit because there's a lot of guys who still want to probably be on this team that'll be playing just as hard, and they
Mhm.
probably do want to hurt Hurts. Because normally this is the week that we would be holding our starters, but we got to
Mhm.
play now. So they know how much we want it. Giants can be
Yeah.
assholes like that and decide to show up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true. They could.
so it's still going to be a good game because of what's on the line, but I do not doubt that they don't come out of this with a win in the number one seed. So it would have been nice if these last 2 weeks didn't mean anything
Oh
for
yeah,
us.
it'd be nice if they sealed the deal 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, and it would have gave Jalen 3 weeks to rest on top of the additional two. So it's like he would have been gravy by the time playoffs start. But now it's like, all right, you gotta show what I'm made of. Here we go again.
Hmm.
Hurts saves the
Yeah.
day.
Now he's got to come in and carve these guys up and then go sit down.
Basically, because
I mean,
I don't expect him to hopefully play more than up to the third quarter. I really honestly hope
I
they have
hope he doesn't have to play anything more than that.
yeah, like they just sit his ass like mid third quarter and say, we got this. We
And
can
then
put
put
Minshew
Ian, then put Ian Brooks in.
Everyone says they don't think that Ian Book will play, but I'm like, I would try it out because,
Gardner doesn't deserve to step on the field anymore.
no, at this point, if he goes in there, it's only because maybe Ian Book threw like two interceptions. Then he'd be like, all right, maybe you're not ready. We'll go back to Minshew.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
Garner just does not deserve to touch the field. I'm gonna even
I
let him
agree.
wear. I'm gonna let him wear a jersey this week. Like get the fuck out.
I
I'm not.
agree with you. I wouldn't even suit him up. I would just let him be in fatigues and just let Ian Book get a taste of real play action.
Yeah,
We'd never seen him play, so it's like I kind of want to just see if
yeah.
how sharp he might
I,
be.
I, I like to see him take a couple snaps at least.
Yeah, and if not, he could just hand off the ball like Garner did when they put him in earlier in the season. Like just hand off the ball. That's your only
Hmm.
job. You only
Yeah,
have to throw once or twice. Just let Miles and Boston and all them do the work. Um,
yeah.
I'm hoping they show some different looks too, and they probably won't because this is like kind of like a whatever week. But I hope that they just try maybe a trick or two or something different, maybe
Mm.
just to ignite the offense because they're
Yeah,
still
just
going to
take.
have to play with Driscoll and all them. And these guys got to get this fucking timing down. Like Kelsey's probably been beating himself up mentally all week, you know,
Yeah,
about what's been going on with the snap.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, he's used to. I mean, he's been used to the way Jalen plays. So I mean,
and honestly, but again, just like you said, they didn't have a problem in the Cowboys game with Minshew until up until the end.
yeah, up
So
until the end, yeah.
that's why I'm saying like I don't buy that. Sometimes it's just you just aren't on the same page, and for whatever reason,
Hmm.
everybody took it really lightly that game. And then you could see how frustrated AJ was. Like he had to fight for that touchdown that he got. Because
Hmm.
AJ hadn't been running to the end zone in a long time since he hurt his ankle.
Oh
So that
god,
mother
yeah.
father said, by the time I get the
He's like
freaking ball,
he's like
I'm
I'm getting
running.
there. He's like I'm getting there today.
He pulled a four. Yeah, exactly. He said, he said, you about to learn today. But I think at that point he realized himself like this is just not going to work today. This is just one of these
Hmm.
bad days, and it just sucks that it's now. Like I wish we could have had one of these early in the
Hmm.
season fuck ups, and then we can go back and say we got 5 more games.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so cruise controlling to the weekend in general. There's also a lot of teams that are playing for this week 18, but we all know what really kind of crowded or took everybody's minds away from football since Monday
Oh
night.
yeah.
Prayers to Damar Hamlin, the safety who was injured and basically fell out and passed out during a routine tackle with him and T. Higgins. God bless T. Higgins too, because I'm sure that guy had a lot of pressure on him. I'm sure he was blaming himself for a while, but I think the
Yeah, I
reality of the
mean, but
situation is anything can happen. That was just a freak
yeah,
thing.
that's freak. You can't plan that. It just
No one plans it, and
it,
any childish person on the keyboard who actually blamed him is a piece of shit. So just so you know
yeah.
that.
I mean, he tackled him. He fell on him. Just the way he hit his chest, and that was it.
I mean, just like the way if you watch Higher Learning's podcast with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay, he had a doctor on that talked about how one of those things could just be an issue of how blunt the hit was in that part of his chest.
Hmm.
And it's just one of those things. Sometimes the impact of a quick punch is more intense than,
Could have
I don't know, anything else you might have
you
hit at
could have
that
caught
time.
him at a certain like you could it's like they said, it
Exactly.
could be a certain beat and
Right.
it just stopped his heart. Yeah.
The moment that the way he breathed at the moment, because usually I'm sure when most guys are preparing for a hit mentally, they probably do hold their breath a little bit because you know what the impact might be. But
Hmm.
he might also been mid breath, and then it just tripped up
Hmm.
something and then dislocated something and he was out. And the scary part about it was watch well, first of all, everybody's assholes on social media wants to repost it, so it really got traumatizing. Even
Hmm.
though it wasn't like gory or anything, you just don't want to see somebody drop like that because
Yeah. No.
it's
No.
too traumatizing. And I think every player at first thought probably he was just down for a little bit, but when the one Bengal player that he fell back on turned around, and I
Hmm.
don't know if it was T or not, but turned around and was just like, "Yo, yo, yo!" Like he knew from the minute
Yeah. He started
he
calling
fell,
people
like
over. Yeah.
he was like, "That don't look good." But the one thing about the whole traumatic night was just how the commentary had to continue because they didn't really
Oh
know
God.
the whole
Yeah. I
and it was
mean that.
painful because I'd hate to be on the air having to stretch because there's nothing worse in a live TV broadcast where you have to
Hmm.
stretch because something you don't know is happening.
Yeah. And like, so I gotta get hands up, hands up. And for Susie Colbert, Booker McFarland, and
Yeah, and
let's see,
Sheffy, Adam Schefter.
And Shefty. Yeah, they did a great job because that had to be tough.
You had to keep coming back to it, and I know Booger was holding back some,
Some
he was definitely
emotion.
holding back
Yeah.
tears because he probably I mean, every player who was asked about it as it was happening, Ryan Clark, God bless him on ESPN because
Hmm.
homie was going he could have been a preacher that night because he was just going off because he's had medical issues as to why he couldn't continue
Yeah,
into football.
I didn't see him talk.
Yeah, Ryan's I mean, there's many clips, so, go on TikTok, it'll fly up as usual for your For You page, but
Hmm.
um, I think that it made a lot of players who don't play anymore be thankful that when they did
Hmm.
retire, whether it be their choices or not,
Yeah.
they only had to witness someone like in that kind of a situation, or they had to go through it to understand how
Yeah.
that really fucks with your mind that you may or may not be able to play anymore after this.
Yeah.
Like, God bless that he's playing. I'm telling people, I tweeted it. I said, I pray that this brother gets all his vitals by Friday. And thank God by last night they
Yeah.
said that he was able to, actually communicate whether he was writing. And the first
Hmm.
thing that they said he wrote was that, did we win?
Did you hear what the doctor said to him?
Yeah, he said, you won in
Doctor's
the
like,
game of
you
life.
no, no, you won life. Okay,
Yeah, you won in the
like
game of
don't worry
life.
about
And
the game. You won life, my
right.
friend.
But that's the funniest thing that the fact that this is a neurological issue, and the fact that once he was breathing with the tube, then they at one point they were saying during the week they had to flip him over because they wanted to make sure that his lungs were not having too
Hmm.
much pressure on them. There was things that they had to do while he wasn't even medically conscious. And
Yeah.
so the fact that he got from that to writing to FaceTiming today with the players briefly,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's nothing but a miracle. And I feel like that's not even the hardest part of his recovery now because
Hmm.
luckily this happened on a week that they normally wouldn't even have if it hadn't been for COVID and the new agreement or whatever. He has to spend all his off season rehabbing, learning to do everything that he couldn't do before, that he could already do before. We
Yeah.
don't know how long he's going to have to, he has to probably
Yeah.
speak, walk, everything he has to do over again. And you don't
Yeah.
know if he's going to be traumatized because, just like they say with quarterbacks, that shit stays in your mind come game day. So he may have a reaction to even
Hmm.
his first tackle.
Yeah.
And he's a fierce player. So, and shout out to Miles Sanders, who just spoke today about, that was one of his best friends from Pitt because he's a Pitt guy. So,
Hmm.
LaShawn McCoy, all the Pitt guys, Avante Maddox, we're all feeling very heavy this week. And we're
Yeah.
relieved to know. Um, we don't realize as fans how much that shit means to players to be considered human as opposed to just guys who go out there and make fantasy teams and people happy.
Yeah.
And the insensitivity came out a lot with people who were more mad about the game, being postponed
Hmm.
as opposed to worrying about his health. And then yet you saw an incredible flood of prayers and
Hmm.
fans going to the medical center all night. Like you're talking about 24, 48 hours of people probably not sleeping. Ryan Clark, God bless, got back on TV the very next morning and he still
Uh,
looked like he hadn't slept at all.
oh yeah. Well, I'm sure a lot of those guys didn't.
Right. So
Uh,
this stage in your head, and I just felt some type of way because you're thinking the family is beyond stressed.
oh my God. Yeah.
Thank God they said his mother and his family did get in the ambulance with him, but there's a lot of stuff that wasn't clear until like Wednesday. and
Yeah.
at some point they just want the players just want to know, is he responding.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you know what it's like when you've been around someone who's suffering. There's nothing worse than watching somebody suffer.
No.
um
Yeah. It's bad.
it it's one thing when it's just a sudden thing, you can't control it, they're gone. But if you watch somebody going through it, being in a coma,
Hmm.
it fucks with your head. And it's another thing when it's your favorite profession, because someone
Hmm.
had made that point on a podcast recently, like, you have to think about whether or not this is worth keep going at again,
Yeah.
you
Because
know.
I mean, because there is going to be a chance that he may not be able to do it again ever. Yeah, there may be that chance, and it's sad. I mean, I'm happy. I'm sad that he's gonna have to go through that, but I'm also happy that he's alive because he's
Yeah,
got a.
that's the main thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's 24 years old. He's got a lot of life left in him.
Only like
Yeah.
2 years in the leagues, and he doesn't have enough for Dante Stallworth recently just made a who used to play for the Eagles a long time ago. He was saying, he's like, you have to realize this guy's not invested in the fully in the NFL yet to get
Hmm.
life insurance and benefits enough, like, so post whatever
Hmm.
happens after this season, you have to
Yeah.
think about how much he can be really truly covered by the NFL, which probably is not going to happen. So you have to think about things like that, like
Yeah.
they have to think about what they want to change as far as that, because a lot of
Hmm.
players talk about that. They're not guaranteed life insurance for life if they've had any
Yeah.
traumatic injuries. So, and honestly, after two, like we said last podcast, NFL got a lot of shit to think about after this season.
Hmm.
There's just been
Yeah.
too many reasons where they can get caught in lies, and there's too many people who can call their bluff and say, well, shouldn't this have been a factor when y'all had all
Yeah.
that time after 2020, when you were trying to figure out how to make up for all the missed time and the
Yeah.
fans? Like, there are certain revisions that they should have really thought about, and this is one of them.
Hmm.
You got a lot of veteran players. I mean, damn the whole thing with CTE and the concussion, because we know they finally had to own up to that and pay out what they could with the lawsuits. But
Yeah.
now you got people worried about future playing. You know, there's a lot of people out here voicing their opinion about not even letting their sons do pee wee
Yeah.
football.
They were saying the was it the percentage of went down.
Yeah, a lot of football
Right.
camps have gone
Yeah.
down. They're worried. They don't want to even worry about this. A lot of
I
older
mean,
players say, like, I'm not letting my grandson play. That's
yeah. I
why.
mean, and it is a violent sport.
It
I
is.
mean, and
No,
this was
gladiator show.
and this thing, yeah, and this thing that happened the other night was one off because I've never seen that before.
No, no one has.
Never seen somebody had to get revived on the field. I'm like,
All I know is when someone said they had to bring CPR, and then there were rumors at one point that they were thinking about even airlifting him from in the middle of the field. I would have been like, shit. That's when I knew something was up.
mm,
Because when they talked about airlifting and then they said CPR and they had to get a defibrillator, I was like, ooh, that is not
yeah,
good.
and thank God the staff reacted fast, and
Oh yeah, those people are, and those
because
doctors are definitely lauded this week because they worked overtime to get some kind of sign of life. And
yeah,
I mean, God bless them all. And there was actually recently a video today or the other yesterday showing how many people catered food for all the medical workers from that
mm,
night. Gave them a whole buffet. You know what I mean? There were people who are still in Cincinnati now,
mm,
feeding them because they're like, they know they probably haven't got no sleep, and
yeah,
haven't eaten, been stressed. So yeah, there's the side of humanity that comes out even over whether it be just a football player or not. He's a human being. He was generally a good person. You would hate
hmm,
to see somebody lose their life in the middle of a sport they loved after not even
oh
really
yeah,
getting the chance to really be in like the crux of his career.
yeah,
But you're right. The aftermath is really going to be what's important for him.
hmm,
To me, he's a miracle kid. I think at this point, I mean, if you got people all over the league, putting your picture everywhere, you got Niagara Falls turning blue for Buffalo for him. I
yeah.
mean,
I
mad
mean,
support.
then they had the link. They had his picture up, didn't they?
Yeah,
All
the
like for
link,
the past few
all the
nights. Yeah,
stadiums. Yep. Link
yeah.
had it all blue for him. Had the picture of "Pray for Damar." A lot of even football players for this weekend's game, they're getting T-shirts specifically made with his number on it for 3.
Mm,
Pray for Damar. Some guys just made some T-shirts up just cause.
hmm.
Um, his GoFundMe for his what was it for? It's for daycare schools or
Yeah,
was a
a lot of his
charity.
charities got a lot. They got an influx of.
He only had a $250,000 goal. John is like probably almost 10 million by now.
Yeah. And
So,
did you see the one meme? Somebody said, what is it? It was a tire place or something or a
uh-huh.
food. a food place donated more money than the Washington Commanders did. I was like, wow.
Bums, bums. I can't tell you, and that aftermath too. They better change that that serious organization around in the next year because homeboy, that brother is looking real bad right now to be
I know
associated.
this is completely unrelated, but
Go ahead.
have you seen their
Laughing about it already.
have you seen have you seen their mascot? The pig.
Yo, okay. Major Tutty. Let me just talk about
Yo,
how the
what the
timing was
fuck?
so
What
fucked up.
the fuck is that?
Why are you, first of all, introducing a mascot in week 18, 17 probably then, but why? And then two, why the fuck a pig? I mean, their former mascot was at least a Native American, so I was thinking maybe you want to get maybe a more warrior type of something, but I just felt like a fucking pig. Like y'all really got jokes. Like somebody had to approve that. If that doesn't make Carson Wentz go, yeah, I don't have to come back.
Like I need to leave.
I'm
He's
good.
like, I'm gonna head out.
He said, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna head out. He's probably already plotting on talking to The Rock right now. See, like, how's the XFL looking?
Yeah, right. Can I get out of here, please?
Him and T.O. probably both, because T.O. be trying to get into the league again. So I'm thinking maybe T.O. might go to XFL. But yeah, no, that was a mess. I loved how Chris Long on his podcast, they were all excited about it because they thought it was brilliant. I was just like, y'all would.
They said it was brilliant.
Because they're sarcastic. Like Chris Long is all about the sarcasm. So I think he secretly just thought it was stupid, but it was funny at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're saying they love Major Tutty. I said that was so insulting. I said this pig looks like it's on steroids, and then on top of the fact,
stupid looking.
it's just like, why a pig?
Yeah.
Like anyway. That
I
was
don't
just
understand. I'm sorry, I had to break it up a little bit.
No. You were right to bring it up because it was such a anticlimactic thing. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
We need to laugh for it. We need to laugh for a second after.
I guess so, because they know what happened because Wentz is benched again. So I guess you need a laugh on top of it because Wentz is sitting his ass down again. So now what? They going back to Heineke? The fuck is the point? Who's the third stringer? No, they're letting Sam Howell play. Never mind.
Oh.
Shut up. Look, let me end this podcast.
Yo.
On this bullshit.
Yo.
I didn't think he was bad in preseason though, but that's really embarrassing.
Yo, Washington is the worst when it comes to figuring out their quarterback situation. I don't understand it. It's been like a revolving door for the past 6 years?
Yeah.
Like crazy.
It's just getting between them and like the Panthers. It's getting to the point where like y'all have no self-awareness. I mean, like y'all don't know talent.
I mean, Kirk Cousins is a fucking joke too, but at least he was solid.
He was solid. It's just he had bad luck when it came to the playoffs. We all know how that is, but he earns every freaking check he gets, apparently.
I mean, he's good enough. He's been good enough to start for Minnesota, and
yeah, you never had to question his availability.
And they've been doing okay. So I don't understand why they didn't keep him. I mean, I'm glad they got rid of him because whatever.
Yeah. But he honestly, it's like he was capable of playing. It's just that, you can't help it if your whole team sucks at the most inopportune time of the year.
Yes.
But that's why I say like it's different because at least he could play. Carson, we don't know what happened. I personally, and I'm always going to go back to it, say that concussion fucked him up. I don't think it was the knee. I think it was his concussion that finally took away any kind of ability to play correctly.
Yeah.
And I think he's just strongly in denial about whether or not it's his fault or not. That's what I find so sad. Like I don't know if he even thinks that anything he does is wrong. It just doesn't work that time. Fudge.
Like it wasn't me.
Right. It wasn't me. But anyway, so we're looking forward to this game. And to finish it all up, Sixers have been playing pretty decently, but it looks like tonight they're going to be playing without JoJo again. The foot thing, I'm like, I don't even care. JoJo's in the All-Star game. I'm no longer mad about when Embiid's hurt because this team has to seriously work on their chemistry consistently.
They seem to rise to the occasion when he's not there too.
And that's why I said like I'm not pressed that he's missing this game, 1 or 2 games, because they were fine without him. I'm starting to love I've been loved DeAnthony Melton more, but I really like that DeAnthony Melton and Harden and Trez kind of work well together.
Trez had a great game the other night.
Trez had a great game. Yes, he did.
And he was playing with a chip on his shoulder. I loved it.
That's what we like about him most. I like him even more so as a backup center than I do PJ, obviously. But PJ has PJ must be hurt because, and that's the thing I'm not getting as to why they brought him on if he was that hurt, unless he really got hurt somewhere early in the season. But he's been not consistent at all, and I'm almost kind of questioning, was he the fire that you needed? Because it seemed like to me Trez was that fire and that attitude that that
Mm,
brings to the team.
yeah,
I like how Matisse is starting to have a slow resurgence of
yeah.
playing. He's starting to hit his threes. Um, and shout out to George Niang because homie just comes in and just delivers
Just
and has all
bang
that
bang.
bang bang Niang. And I don't know if you saw the repost I just put of him. He literally I don't know what that game is where you put your face on a person, but he put his face on
What do you put his face
Jason
on?
Statham. And so every scene he shows like himself, like Jason Statham knocking in the door, blasting, knocking guys out.
Oh
And his whole
God.
caption was he's ready for the weekend. So if you look on my page on She Talks Ball
Yeah,
78 for
I'll
Instagram,
take a look at it. Yeah.
that was his Friday post. So he decided to superimpose his face on Jason Statham's body as the
Nice,
hero. But we love
nice.
Georgie Yang's sense of humor, and I like that energy he brings. But like I
Yeah.
said, the team is on their way to getting a little better. But honestly, at this point, it's almost All Star Weekend, All Star Week. So we know that Harden and Embiid are in.
Mm.
I don't know who else is going to be alternates because it seemed like they didn't really have that many to pooch. I think Shake should be honestly an alternate. I like Shake getting his little All Star experience.
Mm.
And honestly, Tobias, because Tobias was mad he didn't get in last time, so
No, he should have made it in too.
he should have made it in
Yeah.
automatically. But again, that's a voting popularity thing. Maybe he doesn't
Yeah, it
have
is. It
that many
is.
guys vouching for him, but
It is popular. Yeah.
I like him. But I think at this point, even he's gotten married. Like I said, I don't think Tobias really cares about outside.
He's like, whatever.
He's like,
Fuck
I
it.
got my girl. I'm married, man. He's playing harder to me. In fact, he played really impressively this last game. And the
Mhm.
fact, one of the highlights I saw, I'm like, I missed it, but I didn't know he had that kind of crazy dunk. That I was just like, all right, Tobias, I see you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
every now and then, Toby is a lot more tuned in than people want to admit because they're so used to him being so lukewarm. But
Mm.
I feel like he's a lot more. And I said this even when we first started talking about the Sixers, even though the season wasn't that great in the beginning. I felt like Toby is in another mental space with this
Mm.
game. And I like it because it doesn't seem like he's easily affected by everything. He still gets
Mm.
pissed off at fouls like any player,
Oh yeah, of course.
but I do think there's something about him that's not hesitating like he used to.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that's a good sign.
and he's got zero pressure right now, which is good.
Yeah, and I still want to see them beat like even these young, faster teams though. Still, because
I
they're still
mean,
tripping up on some of these teams. Because I understand it's getting younger, but there are teams that they shouldn't be losing to. Like they went into overtime with that Pacers game. I didn't realize it till I was done my workout, but
yeah.
they went into
Well,
overtime.
they came back. I mean, the Pacers
They
came back,
did,
and then the Sixers came back.
yeah.
So
So yeah,
we'll
some
see.
as long as they get
Yeah.
the win for competing, because you know how sometimes they tap out towards the end of the fourth
Well,
quarter, and it's really
they didn't
annoying.
give up in this game. They fought to the end.
I
So
like it. I
I
like it,
mean,
and I almost had it. Go
Maxi
ahead.
got that steal, and then Marquez like made a play at the other end, get the
Shot,
ball
yeah.
back. Yeah, so I mean,
Shout out to Maxi coming back because Lord knows we missed him.
yeah, he's finally getting his rhythm back too. It looks like so.
That's what I was going to say because the first game they kind of gave him minutes and then let him sit, but I think
Yeah,
that Maxi has to learn to kind of re get his because he's the energy, like he's the energizing
yeah,
bunny, so he has to get his, like you said, his chemistry back.
missing those shots he usually makes. You know, like
Yeah, I
he's
noticed that a couple of, like the little under overs, like he wasn't getting.
those euros he likes to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think sometimes he was throwing it up and hitting the floor and was like, "It didn't go in."
You're
He
like,
was
it
like,
didn't
"Son of
go.
a bitch, I'm
Like
out of practice."
he's like, wait, I never missed that shot, right? But
I
yeah,
know. So who's tonight's game? Because I almost came this close to winning
it's
tickets on
it's
best night ever, best show ever.
who is it today?
Because I was like, oh, it's the Bulls. That's who
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
the Bulls. Yep,
Yeah, because I
Chicago.
was trying to win tickets. Shout out to best show ever with Tyrone and them, but I didn't. I guess I didn't qualify. But
Yeah.
I had to guess the song, and I always guess the songs when they give it to me. So I was proud of myself. I was like, I know this one too. It was Paul Abdul. But I was like, that'd be so convenient because we just went, and I would have been like, I prefer a game on a Friday night anyway or a Saturday afternoon. But
Yeah.
it would have been nice to win it tonight. But actually, it was kind
Oh,
of cold when I did my walk, so I'm kind of glad I didn't feel like being cold after
yeah.
it's been warm. We got spoiled. Now I'm like, ew, it's cold. I don't want to be out in the cold.
I mean, it's January. I mean, so
This is
I mean,
true, and we don't know what's gonna happen. They said it's supposed to be snowing next week. Actually,
Yeah,
Sunday.
it said like an inch or something on
That's
Monday.
fine. A dusting is
So
a nice little tease. It just has to feel like January, and it doesn't feel like January yet. I mean, I love
nah.
60, but it just totally felt wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and confusing. All right, Ed. So we'll wrap this up by saying we know what's going to happen as far as a win, but I'll be damned if they make me sit there and watch that game and be like, "Don't do this. Don't
Mm-hmm.
do this today."
Oh
Like,
yeah, please don't give me anxiety on Sunday.
please, I will
Especially
have.
since I gotta wait till 4 o'clock for it too.
Thank you, because I was about to
Like
say that
don't
too. It's not even 1 o'clock game, which is even
like
worse.
don't
You just
give
want
me
to get it over
anxiety.
with. Yeah, don't give
Hmm.
me anxiety because all these other teams that are playing before we don't really care about. We got to sit through them just because to warm us up for this game, so don't look like punks.
Yeah.
Um, Shout out to Endemic and Sue, whose birthday's today.
Nice.
He felt the need to tweet, so I guess respect to you, Mr. Sue. And shout belated to my baby Dallas, whose birthday was like Monday or Tuesday, and of course, obviously, with everything happened, no one really acknowledged it on Eagles PR. I shouted him out on Best Show Ever when I called in, and of course, I tagged him, even though he's probably like, "I wish you would stop." But anyway, I acknowledged Dallas Goddard for another year,
He's
Capricorn
like,
that
would
he
you
is.
stop?
Anyway, all right. So, all right, we'll talk. Hopefully, we'll see a Sixers win tonight. I don't know about
Yeah.
you. I'm ready to tear up some food. So, we about
Yeah,
to
I'm
make
gonna
our
make some dinner.
din. Yeah.
I'm glad
Eat
it's
some dinner.
Friday, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah. You ready to probably
Yeah.
break a beer? I'm ready to make some wine and probably put some pasta on or something.
Yeah.
But, all right, homie. We'll talk soon. And hopefully, we'll have much more to talk about after this win comes
Yeah.
Sunday. So, go Birds.
Go birds.
Thanks for joining the Coed edition, Birds with Feather, AJ the Suburban Princess, Eddie B. We
We're
are
out.
out. And it's like